All right, Buck, we're back with the second half of episode 92, and I'm gonna call you back to episode 90. That episode was titled "Cops Stealing Drug Money." You may remember that episode because it was only published back on February 5th, but there's been a follow up. Now, to just to touch base on what it was, there was a sheriff in California that was having deputies wait along the road for armored cars that came by that were taking deposits for to the bank from marijuana growers and pulling them over and seizing the money through civil asset forfeiture. There has been an update to that case, and this is being reported by Reason.com. A California sheriff remains free to rob armored cars carrying money from state licensed marijuana businesses. A federal judge this week declined to issue a TRO against a California sheriff who used civil forfeiture to rob armored cars carrying money earned by state licensed marijuana businesses. In his ruling, U.S. Judge John Holcomb said that Imperial Logistics, a Pennsylvania based company that transports cash between businesses and banks, may very well have an excellent case on the merits, but had failed to meet the high burden for a TRO. Bullshit. um, First and foremost, there is not a high burden for a TRO. A TRO is a temporary restraining order, and you can restrain, two parties from being together, or you can restrain action by a party. That if you can prove that their actions are going to cause irreparable harm, or and then what happens after a TRO is issued, then you have a full hearing to determine whether there's going to be an actual restraining order. We can equate that to the domestic violence cases, Buck, where one of the members of the household goes and says, this person did this, and the other party doesn't have to be present. The judge can just say, okay, I'm going to issue a TRO, temporary restraining order, and then we'll serve the other party and we'll have a hearing in like 2 days. So the burden for a TRO is not actually that goddamn high. Just to clear that up first and foremost. San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies stopped Imperial vans 3 times in November, December, and January. They seized cash during 2 of the stops, making off with a total of more than $1 million, which was transferred to the FBI so the Justice Department could pursue forfeiture under federal law. If the government prevails in their forfeiture proceedings, the Sheriff's Department will get to keep up to 80% of the money under the Justice Department's equitable sharing program. The earnings of the state licensed marijuana suppliers are not subject to forfeiture under California law. Imperial, which is represented by the Institute of Justice, which, as far as I'm concerned, if you look these folks up, they're doing God's work. Let me tell you, argues that the San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon Dickus, that's his name, Dickus, has no authority to seize money from businesses that are complying with state law. The van searches violated the Fourth Amendment, and the financial motive for the stops makes them inconsistent with due process. In addition to Dickus, Imperial sued the Justice Department, Attorney General Merrick Garland, the FBI Director Christopher Wray, and the head of FBI's Los Angeles field office, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and the DEA Administrator Ann Milgram. The company argues that the federal officials, by collaborating with Dickus, are violating a congressional spending rider that bars the Justice Department, which includes the FBI and the DEA, from interfering with the implementation of state medical marijuana laws. Regarding the latest claim, Holcomb said the evidence presented was so far was not sufficient to establish that Imperial and its clients were operating in accordance with California law allowing medical use of marijuana. The company says that 3 of the 4 businesses whose money was seized on November 16th had medical marijuana license. It also says that all the money seized on December 9th came from such businesses. Imperial bears the burden to show by a preponderance of the evidence it has strictly complied with state medical marijuana laws. Let me just read that to you one more time. Imperial, the transport company, bears the burden to show by a preponderance of the evidence it has strictly complied with state medical marijuana laws. So they are guilty until proven innocent. Just remember that fucking phrase too. Imperial has not come close to meeting that burden. Imperial's only evidence with respect to the issue of strict compliance is self-serving declarations from its CEO. The value of those declarations is limited. There's another phrase I want to touch on. Self-serving declarations. What other declarations would there be? I mean, in all seriousness, if you go to court and you make a statement on the record, you are making a self-serving declaration. The only time that is not taken at face value is if there's something to contradict it or someone to contradict it. They have done nothing, other than the fact they're saying, we did everything we were supposed to do. That's not enough. That's self-serving. Of course you would say that. That's what the judge is saying. Of course you'd say you didn't break the law. But you were arrested, so you must have been breaking the law. That's kind of the way he's going with this.
Yeah, it's pretty slimy, man.
The,
I
the, the
mean,
whole
there's no other way to cut this pie, man. The
I kind
guy's
of
a shitball.
I kind of feel like we're becoming the civil asset forfeiture podcast because it seems like we keep going on this. I think because people keep sending this to me because they see I get fired up and they want to hear me scream. Uh, Dan Albin, one of the Institute of Justice attorneys representing Emperor, notes that the appropriations rider requires the DOJ to not spend any money interfering with a state's implementation of its medical cannabis laws. Excuse me. While the rider does not protect every business that Emperor served, he says, it should protect those with medical cannabis licenses that are in strict compliance with state law. Federal agencies should not be able to seize their proceeds. Holcomb also unpersuaded by the argument that Dickus had exceeded his authority, since the claim hinges on the demonstrating the businesses whose money his deputies seized were complying with state law. Emperor and his clients operate in full compliance with applicable state cannabis laws, the company says in its TRO application. But in Holcomb's view, the assurance is not enough to support the TRO, since the only evidence Emperor presents is self-serving declarations from its CEO. That's just fucking ridiculous. For similar reasons, Holcomb says, Emperor has not shown that its constitutional claims against Dickus are likely to succeed. Put simply, there's not enough evidence at this time to suggest that Emperor's constitutional rights were violated. Bullshit! Pretextual stops are a constitutional violation. Simply put, oh goddamn. He emphasizes that his order does not address whether Emperor's rights were violated, nor whether defendants violated any laws. So I'm not going to rule anything on this. He just wants to get his hands away from it. Emperor argues that the traffic stops were pretextual, ostensibly justified by minor traffic violations, but actually aimed at generating revenue for the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff's Department Deputy Jonathan Franco claimed that the November 16th stop, which resulted in the seizure of $712,000, was justified because the Emperor van was following a tractor trailer too close. When the same deputy pulled over the same vehicle driven by the same employee on December 9th, according to the lawsuit that Emperor filed on January 14th, they claimed the driver, quote, slightly exceeded the speed limit and prematurely activated his turn signal. My ass.
Wow.
In,
Wow.
in that case, the complainant says the driver's operation of the Emperor vehicle was completely lawful. The company says the deputies had planned to stop in advance and have pulled over the driver and the Emperor vehicle regardless of how careful or lawful it was driven. The time the deputies took about $350,000, which was something of a letdown based on the audio recordings by the van's security system. Emperor's lawsuit describes this exchange. One of the deputies said, "That's it?" He chuckled. He then said, "You set the bar too high." When other deputies remarked that that they thought they'd be getting $1 million or $2 million, the deputy responded, "At least we got over $1 million," apparently referring to the combined take from the two seizures. The sheriff's deputies who pulled over the Emperor van on January 6th, were even more disappointed. They discovered it was carrying rolled coins and had nothing to do with the marijuana industry, so they did not seize anything, as in the other stops, and they did not even write a ticket either. Because the sale of cannabis and the transportation of cannabis proceeds are lawful under California law, Emperor says that in its TRO application, the Fourth Amendment prohibits the sheriff from stopping, searching, or seizing Emperor's personnel or property without reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe that the property is associated with is the proceeds of cannabis that violate state law. The sheriff is using pretextual traffic stops to search and seize Emperor's property without probable cause. Indeed, the sheriff is not even issuing traffic citations during these stops, just taking Emperor's cash. Even if the stops were justified by traffic violations, Impro says, the ensuing searches were unconstitutional. A traffic violation does not give officers the right to search the vehicle. Any warrantless search pursuant to the automobile exception requires probable cause to believe the police searching. The place searched contains contraband. Uh, Contrary to the sheriff's wishes, a traffic violation stop is not carte blanche to search a vehicle, let alone a locked safe inside it. During the December 9th stop, deputies claimed a drug sniffing dog alerted to the van, which Emperor says is not true. Video footage of the vehicle does not show the dog alert on the vehicle. Instead, it shows the dog is barely interested in the vehicle. Then that goes back to the whole canine bullshit that we've talked about so many times. The deputies obtained a search warrant prior to the November 16th seizure, but Emperor says the application included false information or misleading statements. It says the deputy who applied for the warrant mistakenly claimed that Emperor converts money from marijuana businesses into cryptocurrency and falsely asserted that some of the company's clients were not licensed by the state. The deputies said that Emperor did not have a medical marijuana business license, which is not required to transport money from dispensaries to banks. Furthermore, a 2020 law says a company that provides such services to state licensed marijuana businesses does not commit a crime under any California law. When he weighed the TRO application, Holcomb declined to consider the information about the search warrant, which he said which was being introduced too late, without giving the defendant a chance to respond. Alvin said the information which Emperor introduced in the reply briefs was based on, quote, new evidence that only just obtained and did not process while we filed for our TRO application. The new evidence includes an unredacted copy of the November 6th search warrant. We have tried to get those documents from the defendants for months, but only received them last week. Although Holcomb declined to consider the new evidence at this stage, Alvin says we can now use these documents to support a motion for a preliminary injunction. Litigation of these claims will continue, but in the meantime, Emperor, which reimbursed its clients for the seized money, is out the $1 million or so that Dickus deputies stole, plus another $165,000 that the Kansas sheriff's deputies took during a traffic stop in Dickinson County last May. Emperor says all the money seized in Kansas came from state-licensed medical marijuana dispensaries in Missouri. As in California, the cops worked with the DEA and the Justice Department, which is pursuing forfeiture under federal law. Emperor said it is trying to avoid further trouble by routing money from medical marijuana businesses from Kansas and San Bernardino County, which leads to needless extra travel. Emperor has suspended plans for a vault and currency processing facility in Dickus jurisdiction. It says it's already invested $100,000 in the project and continues to pay $21,000 a month in rent and utilities for the building. Emperor says the threat of continued harassment and seizure has cost his clients and endangered the expansion of business, especially in California. It's kind of a long one.
Yeah.
Especially for an update.
There's a lot there.
A lot there. And
yeah, but
could this be any more clear what's going on?
Oh, man, it's literally highway robbery.
Exactly. I mean, this is kind of the definition of a highway robbery.
Yeah. That it's if you wanted an actual textbook definition as to what highway robbery is, this would be a glowing example. That is it. And you know what? I mean, like, it just goes back down to what my mom would say. You got to be a great example or a terrible warning. Like, wow.
Yeah, this sheriff.
Wow.
The fact that this sheriff he's barely even hiding what he's doing. And the judge knows exactly what's going on here. And he's trying to say, I can't rule on that because it's a high burden of proof. And no, it's not. You have the preliminary TRO injunction so that you go forward to the hearing. Hate government.
And you know what? Talk about shitty fucking henchmen too. Cops on an audio recording saying, "Oh, I thought it'd be at least 2 million," or "I thought at least that's it. That's all you got." It's like, whoa. That's on an audio recording, and the judge still can't make a ruling. Come on, man.
I mean, it's
come on.
We know exactly what's going on here, but we're not going to talk about it. Apparently,
like, what do you mean burden of proof? I would have to say that there's some pretty damning evidence against, like, the government on this one, man. I mean, like, I think the burden of proof is reasonably satisfied there.
But we have the
Like,
government making a ruling about the government, so here we are again.
right, right. I mean, like, come
Well,
on.
we've already, if I remember correctly, we already scored this sheriff a 5. I'm going to include the judge in on the conspiracy now, so
Yeah.
he gets a
Yep.
5 in my book as well.
Oh yeah, man. We're just divvying up fives. It's a very high scoring episode.
It really is. Well, Buck, I don't think we're done yet because we're gonna follow our follow this again. As a This is reported by the Associated Press. A Jewish student reprimanded for revealing class's Nazi salute. This has happened in Mountain Brook, Alabama. A Jewish high school student said he couldn't believe what was going on when a history teacher in a wealthy Alabama school system had classmates stand and give a stiff armed Nazi salute during a lesson on the way symbols change. Once he shared a video and photos of the incident on social media, he received a reprimand from school administrators in Mountain Brook, a suburb of Birmingham. They proceeded to tell me that I'm making Mountain Brook look bad for uploading the video and sharing it and asked me to apologize to my teacher, which I refused to do. The day after, he made our class and our class only put up our phones and he moved me from sitting in the back of the class to right next to him. So, a little bit of retaliation there, maybe? First reported by the Birmingham based Southern Jewish Life, the incident last month gained traction on social media. On Tuesday, the school system issued a statement saying the video and the photos shared online were, quote, are not representative of the lesson, end quote, and no one tried to teach students how to do a Nazi salute. Understanding the sensitive nature of the subject, Mountain Brook School has addressed the instructional strategy used by the teacher and does not condone the modeling of the salute, which a picture or video could accurately convey the same message. A system spokesman did not immediately return an email Wednesday seeking additional comment. The point of the lesson was that something very similar to what's widely known as the Nazi salute was used before World War II to salute the United States flag, called the Bellamy salute. It was ditched in 1942 for the now familiar right hand over the heart gesture after the United States entry into the war. He explained to us that the United States used to do that before World War II, and that it proceeded to show us and ask us to stand and salute the flag, and he and everyone else did the Nazi salute. I felt upset, unsure what to do, and just kind of shocked. Mountain Brook listened to a group that works to promote diversity in the virtually all-white city of 22,000 people, issued a statement saying that the incident showed the need for more resources, education, and training on the understanding of implicit bias, building empathy, and acting with more compassion. And our entire community, including our school system, must foster an environment which people feel safe to report behavior that are concerned about, and certainly do not create an environment that cultivates any fear of reprisal. The controversy comes just months after the Mountain Brook school system responded to the community complaints about a diversity program produced by the Anti-Defamation League, which combats anti-Semitism by dropping the lessons. The school have begun using the material after anti-Semitic events, including a video of a student with a swastika drawn on his body, but opponents claim the lessons forced too heavily on race and gender and produced by a group they consider controversially political. Let me touch on something. Yes, the teacher is correct. That salute was used in the United States, but it wasn't used to salute the flag in schools. That was actually something the United States took a book from out of the Nazi handbook, indoctrinating youth by having the flag in the classroom and having them do the morning salute to it. But the teacher is correct. We did used to use that in the United States. Furthermore, the swastika was actually a United States military unit symbol. That unit is now called the Thunderbirds. The logo is very similar. It's a red diamond with a yellow phoenix in the middle of it. And that was actually a red diamond with a yellow swastika prior to World War II. So the teacher was wrong. It's not wrong. He's actually, the class was focused on how symbology changes. When I was in China for a time, I kept seeing swastikas everywhere. Now they were facing the other direction, and they're actually a religious symbol used in Buddhism. I believe it's Buddhism. I could be wrong, but so don't hold me to the fire on that one. But I believe it's Buddhism. Um, but we use the symbol. It's a Native American symbol. Uh, so the, this kind of subject matter in classes wouldn't be unheard of, except for the fact that you then have your students stand up and do the say higher. You don't do that. You don't do that.
Yeah, that's that. Again, all the right things done up until the like.
It's like them. It's like the teacher trying to justify using the N word because it used to be used to describe the Irish. It was, it was, but it's no longer means that. It no longer. It took a different connotation, and now our society has deemed it to be one that's inappropriate for you to use, and you shouldn't use it. You can refer to it in context, and you can give an explanation about it, but you do not try to have your students demonstrate
Yeah.
it. You
Should not be in your vernacular. No. And then having kids stand up and salute, moving the Jewish kid to the back of the
no,
class.
no, moving the kid from the back of the class to the front of the class so we can keep an eye on him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, yeah. It's still. I mean, like teacher, you're not making any points, and I think honestly, if since I'm not handing any benefit of the doubt out here, I'm gonna go ahead and suppose that maybe the teacher had all the kids stand up and do the salute just to fuck with this other kid. Like, oh, you think you got a problem with this? You think you can flex your weight in here?
Come
Let me
here,
show
come
you.
here, come here, you little Jew. We're gonna fucking yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's a terrible abuse of authority and power. To be honest with you, we touched base on it before. We shouldn't censor these things. We have to teach our kids about these lessons and these things that happened. And I'm sorry, it's an ugly reality of reality. But at the same time, just
I think we
because
get
it's
what you were trying to say.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, just at the same time, just because it's the truth, that presentation can play a big part in how you disseminate these facts. And having children get up and demonstrate the Nazi salute to the flag, yeah, maybe your presentation portion of your lesson's a little off. That's just me. I gotta. Hmm. I mean, I'm gonna give this Yahoo a 5. You can't be propagating this kind of stuff and having you can't do it. Whether or not you're making an impact or not in a large scale, you're still making an impact enough on a small scale to do some real damage. Getting that propaganda out there like that. No,
See, I would have been like
no.
all on board with everything the teacher did, except for the fact of having the class do it. If you showed a picture saying here it is used by the military or at this ceremony or whatever, and then saying yeah, but then after these evil fucks started using it, we decided let's distance ourselves a little bit for justifiable reasons. Um,
Right.
there was many salutes the United States Army have used. For example, there's one where you salute across the chest if you're holding a firearm. That was used during the American Civil War. I believe it was part of Hardy's Manual of Infantry Tactics. There's many things that have changed because of we don't want to be associated with them for whatever reason, or because it's just fallen out of style. And but the United States used a swastika. They used the Bellamy. They changed it when it became clear that we're not them and we don't want to be associated with them. So let's go ahead and let's change it up a little bit, shall we? But instead,
Yeah.
and that's great. You want to teach that. You want to teach that the reason things change, why they changed, and that's great. You do want to teach that. I fully support that. But then, okay, everyone stand up again. Do this. No, idiot. Just show a goddamn picture.
Yeah, I mean, really, a picture is actually worth 1,000 words. You don't need to have a kid kill somebody to teach him the killing is wrong. Yeah,
All right. Well, we found this homeless guy. I want you to go ahead and stab him.
and tell me exactly how that made you felt. How did you feel? Tell me exactly how that made you feel, not how it made you felt. But yeah, it. Let's go ahead and dig deep. It's like, did it feel this way? No. Like we can convey that message without having to do any hands-on learning here. The
Well,
same
if
thing with
if
the
if
solution.
if that is the way this school operates, I want to go and I want to participate in their sex ed class.
I was just about to go there. I was going to say, I wonder what the sex ed curriculum's like.
This here is Stephanie. Stephanie's agreed to join us today.
I don't think I want to participate in that group, though. I think I'm going to backtrack a little bit and go, that would be weird to know what it was like, but I don't want to be involved in it. I'm good.
Fair enough. All right, Buck, that's going to bring us to an end of this episode. Thank everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the content you've reached, we do release 2 episodes every week on Saturdays and Wednesdays. That is a rather new revelation for us, but we're still getting the swing of things. So occasionally there might not be one on a Wednesday or so, but bear with us. We're getting up to speed. You can also catch us out on our YouTube channel. Just search for Social Liability Podcast. And you can find our audio podcast on just about every platform, whether it be Spotify, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Overcast, Anchor, Google Podcast Breaker, Apple Podcast, or Castbox, and any other number of places that happen to pick us up. We'd appreciate any way you could tell a friend about the podcast, get us out there. And if you have any stories, please feel free to send them to us. Socialliability@icloud.com. And give us something to talk about. Other than that, Buck, I'm the Razgrees. This is the Buck, wishing you all a happy and safe weekend.